Hi, and welcome to today's 4 Minute Mark. We're still in Mark chapter 9, and we're going to look at the aftermath now of Jesus healing the demon possessed boy. And we're going to start at verse 30. They left that place and passed through Galilee. Jesus did not want anyone to know where they were because he was teaching his disciples. He said to them, "The Son of Man is going to be betrayed into the hands of men. They will kill him, and after 3 days he will rise." But they did not understand what he meant and were afraid to ask him about it. Jesus takes the disciples off by themselves. He doesn't want anyone to know where they are. Why, Jesus? I thought you came to preach and to heal and to let people know about the gospel. But Jesus knows that there are times to withdraw with his selected group, his disciples, and concentrate on teaching them. We've seen before sometimes that Jesus addresses the crowds with parables, and then the disciples or others who want to know more will come and ask him, what was that all about? Well, this is one of those times when Jesus is with his disciples, and he's like, now I'm going to tell you some things that I'm not telling all the crowd. And he's going to concentrate on telling them what's about to happen to him. And he says that he's going to be betrayed into the hands of men. They're going to kill him, and after 3 days he will rise again. And I've talked before about how this just goes so contrary to what the Jews believed the Messiah was going to do. Now, there were different theories out there about what exactly the Messiah's kingdom was going to look like, but none of those theories said that the Messiah was going to be betrayed and basically kicked around by men, killed by people, and then he was going to rise again. And I've talked before about the fact that the Jews believed in the resurrection of the dead, but that was going to be at the end of the world. To talk about somebody dying, being in the grave for 3 days, and now they come back again, well, that was not really in their mindset. They couldn't really grasp that. And so they don't understand what Jesus is talking about, and they're afraid to ask him about it. A lot of times when we're reading the Bible, we will come across things that we will not be able to understand. But let's not be afraid to ask God about it when we have those times that we can't understand what the Scripture is saying. And sometimes after we ask God to explain it to us, we still can't understand it. Because maybe we haven't been through enough in life yet to really understand that particular lesson. Maybe we haven't grown in our faith yet to understand that particular lesson. And maybe we'll never understand some of it until we get to the eternal kingdom and we can ask Jesus face to face. I remember Steve Brown, who I like to listen to. He was a radio preacher. Well, he was a regular preacher. He was a pastor of several churches. He was on the radio, then he became a seminary professor, he's an author, but he would say to his seminary students, you haven't lived long enough or sinned enough to have an opinion about this particular subject. And sometimes I think there are scriptures where we haven't lived long enough, and maybe even sinned long enough to really understand the depth of the meaning of that particular passage. The disciples certainly had not known enough yet about what the Messiah's true mission was to understand it. Sometimes we just haven't lived enough. If we just let that particular troubling scripture go and come back to it later in life, sometimes it'll make sense to us. Okay, that's it for today. We'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.